Wow. That was hilarious.
I'm trying to feed it to that pin because their food sources are gone. And we're just back 2 weeks now from 4 months on the Fukushima expeditions. We have conquered about 1/3 of the coastline in 120 days. Tough gig. It doesn't look like this very often. Calm, cool, collect. What you're looking at is the documentation. The documentation we were on the beach, for sure. So we got a tale to tell about 4 months on the ocean. Might take us 2 days. We just broke the tree that I was tied onto. You see a piece of it drifting away. See a piece of it drifting away, but we were tied up over here. Strong winds, can't even have the stove going, the oil stove going, because it just fills the cabin up with smoke, unfortunately. And so this was just about 3.5 weeks ago. These white sea anemones on the rocks would normally cover all the rocks. This is how you identify you're into dangerous water. You would look down and see all these sea anemones from your speedboats before sounders and GPSs and maps existed. This is how you knew you were in shallow water. Little rockfish. There's 50-something plus species of rockfish in British Columbia. See how fast the currents are? You have no room, and there's rocks here that are not charted on the charts. Where the spear prop is already beat up. Oh, how bad is that going to be? We got away with it. Wow. We hit the bottom of the boat. I got the prop up just enough before we bounced off it. There it is right there. It's not on the chart. I happen to be looking out, taking pictures over here. This was about 3 weeks ago. There was around 8 or 12, I believe they were hunting and killing a mink whale. This was up by Bella Bella Shearwater in the central coast of British Columbia, Canada. I was coming back down the coast. It's very rough, it doesn't look that way, I'm sure, but... Wow, that was 5 killer whales about 30 feet away from me. There's another 4 or 5 over right here. I'm trying to make it to shelter before dark. It's almost dark. It's too risky for me to hang out, but they stayed with me for about an hour. Shearwater's in right here, just 15 miles or something. We didn't make it. I didn't make it. Ivory Island. And so I didn't make it, obviously, that night into Shearwater. And hi to everybody. Hello, everybody. So today we're going to carry a stream. I'm, by the way, Dana Durnford. The nuclearproctologist.org. And we're out doing a species counts because of the radioactive fallout from the reactors in Japan. I'm going to share with you today, every day, the documentation. But today in particular, we're going to talk about what I found, what I didn't find, and break down the expeditions up to this point. Hello, everybody. If you're catching a live show, welcome aboard. If not, welcome aboard. Now, By the way, killer whales is in the media. There was a killer whale was carrying her dead baby. Bereaved mother orca finally drops calf after carrying a corpse for an unprecedented 17 days. And so today or yesterday, they discovered this was a 4-year-old female. They've never seen nothing like it. So she was born after Fukushima. Researchers predict West Coast killer whales will exceed 1,000 becquerels a kilogram of radioactive cesium in 2014. 10 times the government's limit, and Japan's government is crazy. On Friday, wildlife biologists loaded up 2 boats with live salmon and rushed to the waters off Vancouver State's San Juan Island, preparing, if needed, to test feed the 4-year-old whale. And they had stuffed, they don't tell you in this story, but they had stuffed the live fish, salmon, that they brought out to the killer whale with antibiotics. They think their story to cover up what's happening is the whale was sick. Now, you know me at all. You know that all the whales, not only in Puget Sound, but also off the west coast of Vancouver Island, are emaciated. That's a strange word, trust me. Very strange word. Because a killer whale is an apex predator, and it hunts and eats seabirds and squid and octopuses and sea turtles and sharks and rays and fish, about 140 species, otters and dolphins, baleen, whales. We only seen that since 2014, by the way. Killer whales are considered the apex. They hunt without fear of being hunted. And so they only eat seals and sea lions and elephant seals and walrus and polar bears and whatever they feel like. So how is it they become emaciated? But they want you to believe it just subsides on salmon. I'm not kidding you. They even changed all their Wikipedias to reflect it. To cover, at the same time, throw the salmon. Oh, well, the salmon died, so everything else died. Not mention Fukushima ever under any circumstances anywhere. And they're all out there screeching the same lie worldwide. And so, hi to everybody. Welcome, everybody. I'm going to be going through a stupid amount of pictures of the British Columbia Canadian coastline and attempting to break it down so it can never be misinterpreted that what we're looking at is extraordinary extinction event, and it has to be talked about and dealt with to come up with any solutions and all solutions. You can't have a solution without talking about it or admitting that nuclear, is a bit of a problem. And so we got a whole bunch of clips now that will explain the trip at the beginning, all the way up to the Alaska border, 4.5 months ago. And this is condensed into a 20-minute video, all the way back to pulling the boat out of the water. And we're just going to play that, because then I'm going to be nonstop for several hours trying to explain and show all this documentation. It's just amazing amount of stuff to get through. It'll be a couple of days of trying to because I'm heading back on the ocean. And so, no further ado, we'll play the one that we need to get out of the way. That's I made last night. It's just before I left, take the boat out and check the boat. And I cleaned the boat, put the boat back in the water. A few hours later, everything was up to snuff. And I took the boat down, had the Yamaha and the black motor, the little
Saturday
kickers
morning, 31st.
service.
Put some more stuff on the boat. Should get out of here by Monday or Sunday. Wind changes. We're waiting for the wind. Drop stuff off to the boat. Finally got her in the water. There we go, now we're tracking 52 kilometers an hour.
And I don't drive her that fast very often.
So it's Monday. We're leaving. We're heading north. It's late in the day. That's the way it works, I suppose. She's on the tow. We got a float rope. Seymour Narrows.
That's the next day, next morning.
It's a significant spot. We're already almost hitting 7 knots. 7 knots. And we're only 1800 RPM. So we're going to go to Browns Bay, just another 6 or 7 miles up, and take a break for the day. And the stove's not working, so we got to fix that because it's freaking freezing out. This is a scary passage. The water flies through here. Incredible. It's an incredible spot anyway. Yeah, that's crazy tides. Wow. We caught it at the end of the flood tide, so the tide's behind us, but the whole speed is only 7. We dropped the RPMs right down, and we're still flying. So pretty impressive. And maybe a dozen birds, and between Campbell River and Seymour Narrows was about 10 miles or something. We've seen 60 birds. And so these are the residential birds. The ones in front of Camel River were residential, what they call residential, I'm sure. And there should have been thousands by now. Sea lions are in right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 sea lions. That's the only ones we've seen so far. We're still fighting the tide. Look at the whirlpool. Crazy. That's Chatham Point. This is Johnson Strait, starts right here. And we're a long way from home. Anyway, it's early in the day though. It's 11 a.m. See how the water boils right here? There's so much current. We're making 6.3 knots, which is almost the whole speed. .5 knots, 8.5 miles per hour. That's pretty darn good. We're idling at 1200 RPM just because we got a long way to go. The motor's sailing, but I can probably kick it out of gear.
Engine sounds better when you shut it off. So wing on wing for a lot of the way up was the preferred. It's a good little breeze there. It was generally 20-25 knots most of the way, but tough seas for the most part. It's just that one moment of calm where you're headed to do a job you know is going to take many months. This is day 3.
About 17 miles away. We're in Port Hardy. Goodbye, Port Hardy. We're going for no man's land now. We'll go out to the kickoff about 30 miles away, 35 miles away, anchor off tonight with a beach line. And in the next couple of days we should make it to Shearwater. It's April the 14th. We're almost down to Browning's Pass, just a couple of miles to go, find an anchorage. Pretty well rained the whole day. Sunday. We're going to shoot across Queen Charlotte Strait. We're just coming off the shoreline. We got a swell, good swell coming out of there. The wind's coming the opposite direction. We're pushing 5 miles per hour. And there's wind warning for the night, and so we might anchor up this afternoon. Probably going to have to go in here and hide away. So we're shot up into Queen Charlotte Strait. That's the top of Vancouver Island right here. We got a long way to go. We got to go to the top of Canada. We're almost to Egg Island up there. Seas are definitely building. So there was a tugboat and barge. I had to detour because I was on the wrong pass. And when I got to the anchorage that afternoon, because we couldn't make it, this plane comes in and lands. It's Monday, right in front of me. The 15th. Fog is so thick you can't see a bloody thing. I scared him away, look. It's crazy fog. You can see the fog is finally lifted. We're 15 miles to Calvert Island. We're 63 miles away from Shearwater. There's no way we're going to make Shearwater today. Strong winds. We're going to go in there to this little anchorage. We're going to that anchorage. Check it out. Woo. One of my tow lines is snapped. Still hanging on by a big wave now between me and the skiff, and I'll break that one. So we'll get in, tie it together, splice it up so it can't pull apart, and we'll sit it out till tomorrow, I guess. The wind switched now, just like that, and it's strong too, 25-35. April the 16th, 2008. That's the tow rope for the Zodiac. You see how the braid actually started to come undone, but stayed together. Kept the core. Core still intact. Got me into the anchorage. We're going to cut it and tie it. So the straight line is where we came in, and the black stuff is where we swung around. It's Tuesday. That's Calvert Island. Japan's over there somewhere. Took us 2 days to get across that opening, Queen Charlotte Straits. Well, this is day 3, I guess, but 4.3 miles per hour. Back and forth. 3.9 knots. 4.6 miles per hour, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that's the scary part of the trip so far, is crossing that big strait. And now I can sit there and have a cup of tea, I suppose. We're finally inside. We're finally inside of this big island. As you can see, we anchored in there last night, in here. And we're headed. We're going to try to make it up to here to, it's about 35 miles, and anchor off tonight. And then get into Shearwater tomorrow night. That's Calvert Island. The bottom of it, we're inside, no ground swells now, or they're calming down. We got the big sail up, and we got the main sail up. We're making 3.2 knots.
And we get these gusts like you're seeing now. There we go. Now we're flying. 5.2 knots and cruising. I like it. Ooh, Safety Cove. It's right here, Safety Cove. And we're heading to Shearwater, about 55 miles. And we're making 2.7 miles per hour, wing on wing. There's a few little wind blows coming behind us, but this is probably the best we can hope for unless we start the engine up. And what's the point of having a sailboat if you keep starting the engine, I suppose? It's been raining since, well, hard since about 7 a.m. It's 20 after 1 now. I dropped the spinnaker down a little bit, the whisker pole. We're getting 3.6 knots, 4 miles per hour. And it's so risky, I don't have a snuffer for that thing. Here we are, we're at Shearwater. Shearwater is about 80 people live in that community. We're leaving Shearwater Sunday, the 22nd. So we got caught in a storm. We're heading north. I missed that part. It's a long way to go, but the next couple of days, reasonable weather. We're going to have to anchor up somewhere along the way for a few days. Storms are almost, the storm season is almost over. Yeah, pulling out of Shearwater. I went between the islands. It's 9:30 a.m. We left Bella Bella at almost 7 a.m. We're flying the big sail, the spinnaker, and the mainsail. Doing a smooth 2.3 knots. It's a straight shot for the next 19 miles, so if the wind stays this way, we might as well take our time and just save fuel. This is Ivory Island. We're going to shoot in the back door, right, go up Cecil, and head up towards Clem too. And so I can anchor up just before I get there, and then tomorrow I got all the inside passages for 3 days. They're calling for 25 knot winds. And there's another bunch of birds right there. It's pretty awesome. I think it's ducks. There's pigeons. Puffins. There's probably 300 there, and there's another bunch straight ahead. 21 feet. It's going to get a little shallower. We had to wait for the tide to come up before we can even try to get in here. This is an anchorage. We're going to have to just power our way through in a few seconds. Wow. So there's probably 500 puffins, I guess is what they are. There's more birds than we see the whole trip in 3 weeks. Roughly 700 birds behind this one island. Two types of birds, basically. Seagulls and what I think is puffins. We'll look at the video after, but trying to pay attention. I gotta fight the current here non-stop. There's not much room. Madison Channel. So that's the next morning. That's Lake Island. Clem 2 is just up right here. That's some scary, that's a scary channel.
tide's flooding out right here. So it's not so bad right here, but we're making 3 knots, which is really good. When we came through the channel, you see how blue it is? The water just piles up. And it makes its own groundswell coming in here. It's Jackson Passage. And it's about 5 miles. 7 miles over to the other side where I'm going. So the wind will take us for the next 7 miles with the big baby. And the little one is doing good. And that's Clem 2 is over right here. April 23rd, 2018. We left Clem 2 at 8 a.m. It's 8:45 right now. Clem 2 is just right at that island right there. So it's a bit of a headwind today from the north. These little tickleasses are actually feeding. It's the first time we've seen birds feeding in 25 days. It's the 25th of April, 2018. There's no other birds, just the little tickleasses. They're the local birds for Clem 2. They were hanging out in Clem 2 for the whole time I was there. This morning they were gone. They're out here. There's this upwelling right here. There's an island. And there's big channels on both sides. This is where the water meets. We propped a hole in our gas tank from the motor. I think it's that piece of metal or something. Punched a hole in the gas tank. We just put up a beach line. You got to lift the motor when you put the beach line up to get ashore, right? So we got 2-part epoxy mixed up.
I mentioned it.
We're going to try to fix it because that's my kicker gas tank in case of emergency. This is Goat Bay across from... There's probably 1,000 birds here. 30. Another half an hour we'll be in Anchorage.
Princess Royal Channel.
It's hard to find an anchorage tonight.
75 mile
and so this was an amazing surprise.
It was.
I say 1,000 seagulls and around 300 puffins. If that's what they were, it's hard to say. But so total, right here in one spot, 1,300 birds, which is more birds than we've seen the whole trip combined, I think, or close to it.
We dropped anchor there for the night. Now we're about
probably see the sail right there. We ripped a hole in it today. I just got it down. We're back in the shelter. It was pretty windy. And there's no water coming out of the back of it, so I guess my water pump is screwed. We just changed the pump. Yeah. Okay, well we got spitting out water really good. Should have done that a while ago, I guess. There's Prince Rupert. Woo. My alternator's been down for a couple of days, so we turned the GPS on spirally. Right now we gotta go through this pass. It's pretty ugly from here on out. Gotta make our way into here. If he cuts across my bow, then he must be headed over to the Queen Charlotte. He's making his turn, coming my way. That's interesting.
So yeah,
so I got a new alternator as soon as I got to Rupert. I had to wait 9 days. And then we ran into problems. We ran into other problems, didn't we? And so, finally I leave Prince Rupert, we get out on the ground, and we towed a little Zodiac behind the big Zodiac, in this case, at low speeds, 10, 12 knots maybe, and to leave the sailboat tied on to a tree with the anchor down in the cannonball.
Took 30 days to get on the ground.
It's just crazy. Debris in the water this morning. It's
pretty big tides. We got a low tide is less than a foot. It's half a foot, 0.07 inches. This is super low tide. But yeah, it's stupid, unbelievable amount of debris in the water. We're heading out to Cornell Island, which is right at the end of Canada, pretty well. Let me see if we can get it. But anyway, we're right here. We're anchored in here. We're heading out to Cornell, which is open ocean. Which is open ocean. Has Haida-Gwaii archipelagos. Last year we seen 7,000 birds here, which was more birds than we seen during the entire trip in this one spot. This is by Dundas Island, and there's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, maybe 100 birds right there. It looks like puffins.
They were the common murres.
That's pretty awesome, because we only seen one bird all the way out.
That was the end of it. We never seen flocks of birds after that. That was 2000.
They're landing right away.
This was the last time we seen natural flocks of birds.
Nevertheless, that's pretty awesome. And there's another 10 birds over there. Stupid amount of debris in the water today. We don't have a handheld GPS. Only shell in there.
So
it's very hard to control the boat today. We had a lot of current. Not much wind, but a lot of current. And it's just they do a brutal amount. And majority of them are sick or melting. This is Cornell Island. This is the very outside edge of these islands. Dundas Island is right by Alaska, which is right on the other side here. So we're just like 10 kilometers or whatever, not even that I guess, away from Alaska. And the algae is actually wilted so bad it's not gonna make it through the summer, whatever it is. There's mussels on these rocks, but none on the other rocks. And there's a couple of sea lions, brown sea lions. It's a little rough out here, and the boat is not working properly. So I gotta make some adjustments this evening. Tide's coming up, but it's a little too tricky to be in here. So we're gonna go and hide away again. There's mussels on that rock, and I think it's gooseneck barnacles. It's all good. Stupid amount of tide, current. Must be a big moon. The fog's finally lifting. We're gonna get some sunshine.
we're almost a few minutes away from the show kicking back in.
We'll go hide away again. I want to go get some pictures of those sea lions, but I don't want to drive them off the rocks. And so I'm going to pass this time. My DSL camera died on me, and so I can't zoom in and get a shot. So hopefully I raised enough money I can get a DSL camera. I want to get ashore. And this is the first day of the expedition. We already put the drone up in the air, but I'm not sure if I'm going to put the underwater drone in till tomorrow maybe. I don't know. It's been a rough, very rough morning. We hit a rock right away this morning and dinged a prop on the big boat. Oh well, we'll get it.
And
so you just gotta take your time. Now, when you look at that, you got to go out there and you got ground swells and wind, your open ocean. This is also the Hackett Straits, very rough. Alaska's just about 10 kilometers away from me. I stayed here for 10 days, or 9 days. And so whatever I found here would be the exact same in Alaska. So whatever I see on those rocks is what you would expect to see 10 kilometers away. I went the opposite direction from the very border of Canada. And so in about 2 or 3 minutes, we'll start running through all these pictures.
That was 2018. That was the last time we have ever seen flocks of birds. And it was a total of around 3,000 birds. Most of them were in 3 places. It was 1,300 in one place. It was 1,000 seagulls and around 300 puffins. It was close to 700 puffins in another place. And that last part, that was up by the Alaska border. It was about 10 kilometers from Alaska. And here's what we discovered. Now, we've done research expeditions for 6 years. It took 30 days to get to the top of Canada, up by Alaska. And then you work your way back down. It takes another 3 months. And so that's the fleet that you're using. And what you do is you take your time and you meander down. And the species to your left is what the coastline should look like. And the species are exterminated. This was due to the radioactive fallout from Japan. And I was watching some of this yesterday, and I was like, I should play that video because that's the last time we ever seen flocks of birds. I'm not saying there's no flocks left. That's the last time we seen them, though. And we were around the ocean for a long time. For 6 years, 4 to 5 months a year. And the species, we're doing tidal zones and birds. And so normally you expect to see the amount of birds I've seen every square mile or so. And now, I left at the beginning of March. I got up there at the beginning of April. And the species to your left, now we went back for 5 more years to see if the species to your left recovered and came back. And to your right, the whole coastline looked like to the right here. And the species to your left are no longer there. So after 5 more years of traveling that coastline, the species didn't come back. That means you're looking at an extinction event. The food chain is broken, period. It's never going to come back. And so a glass of water in the ocean would have 1 billion creatures. This is the very soup of life. So even if you plowed in the whole coastline, the species from down deeper on both sides would fill in the gap. But when your whole coastline, your entire coastline is stripped, there's around 700 algae. And then the algae we've seen are so weak. It was just kelp cabbage and kelp weed. And there should be 700 different algae. And the 700 algae should be around 5,500 invertebrates with the backbones, like little shrimps, different species. There's a lot more than that, but that's the ones that have been identified and studied as unique species. Should be around 84 species of starfish. You notice the underwater video, there was some shellfish. But most of the big beaches on the 27,000 islands are made up of shells that have broken down over millions of years. And there was no shellfish on the beaches themselves, which is unbelievable. It's inconceivable. The species to your left now, we know, after 6 years of research expeditions, are extinct. They're exterminated. And then the only catalyst we can see, and the Canadian government, nobody else will acknowledge the species are gone. I provided GPSs of everywhere I go, and nobody's ever challenged my narrative or with going out and doing the research. We provided the documentation so anybody can go out and replicate the expeditions. And remember, it took 30 days to get to the top of Canada, but it took forever to gather up all the equipment, to build the whole operation, to get the support. And the nuclear industry just kept chipping away at me. And I basically have just a couple of people that are trying to support me. And I can't fund this operation anymore. I live on a pension. I couldn't fund it then. I lived on a pension. So to build the whole operation, get up there and quantify that the species were gone was the worst, just the worst feeling imaginable. And couldn't even find an oasis, like to your left. We couldn't find a single oasis of the species. It was total extermination, like you see behind me. That's an extinction event. And so it started. I just wanted to put out a little video to remind the world that this nuclear industry has caused an extinction event. So what are you going to do about it? Are you going to sit in silence like the rest of the world? This actually really happened. This is 19.5 days of radioactive fallout, 468 hours. This stuff never goes away. It attacks everything with replicating cells. But it takes a number of years for the food chain to start to break down, and then there's a cascade effect. And Fukushima radioactive fallout is global warming. Let me explain what I mean by that. You got 80 years of radioactive fallout, continuous emissions from every nuclear power plant. And every nuclear power plant, when you take the fuel out of the reactor and put it in a fuel pool, it's still splitting the atoms it was for the boiled water for millions of homes. There's no containment. That's released into the biosphere. And the only thing that makes plumes that covers the whole planet is anthropogenic man-made radioactive fallout. Again, there's nothing on the planet with an autoimmune trigger to defend against it. And so it's not just don't take a cancer, but don't exclude it. But don't just take a cancer. There's heart and liver and lung and respiratory and pituitary and thyroid and adrenaline and Alzheimer's, dementia, autism and diabetes and Down syndrome and schizophrenia. And the list is perpetually long. And this was your typical weather. That's what you would expect. Your typical weather. And this is what you expect on a healthy part of the coast. This is what it looked like in 2011. And in 2012, there's nothing left. 2013, 2014. We went back and forth for 6 years. The plumes covered the entire planet. The entire planet. So the question, the poll today was, should we continue to exterminate all species with radioactive fallout to support the nuclear industry? And the industry loves me so much. I only got 7 viewers on my video. That I've been doing this for the show in particular, 5 days a week for over a decade. And because I'm only talking about the truth. I'm not talking about stupid propaganda or nonsense or bullshit or video games or stupid idols. I'm talking about the most important thing on our planet, our ecosystem, our biosphere, our marine life, our precious water. So the industry has labeled me as subversive and a criminal and has the full support of media to censor me. But I have a responsibility to try my best, and it's impossible to do what I'm doing. And I don't have the support to do what I'm doing. And so to do it every day without the support is absurd. But what other choice do we have? We have to do it. The industry has trillions of dollars a year. There's hundreds of billions of dollars for public relation firms. And we don't have any foundations supporting us. At best, we have a couple of people that are doing the best they can. And I don't know how they're able to keep going. I really don't. This operation can't move without big money. And so if you know any foundations out there, you should get them to look at me. And you'll realize that I'm worthy of support. And I'm worthy of people joining this fight for dignity for every species and every human on this planet. That's all we're seeking is reality, so the world can have hope. And the species might be able to have a future. And we can't have that with this dominant industry destroying my ability to communicate the most important message human will ever have. We'll see everybody on the next show, which is tomorrow night. It's back to the regular shows. But I'm compelled to put out a video today because I can't sit in silence. It's just too much for me. And of course the nuclear industry has been attacking me for so many years. I don't know how these people can sleep, right? I really don't. So the reality of it is we should not continue to exterminate all species with radioactive fallout. We have to find a way forward. Nuclear is dying, and it will take all of us with it. And it's in a position to do exactly that. And we're going to end on an old favorite song from James Lucid, who's now passed 1,710 subscribers. Just blasted me out of the water 2 days ago. Thank goodness. Hopefully he just keeps growing. This is one of his early songs, and his songs got much better, but there's nothing wrong with this one. You have a great day. We'll see everybody on the next show. Take care.
In the Tokyo Bureau, swirling smoke and neon beams. Chicago division, fueled by heated dreams. Calm down, Charlie calls in, voice smooth as silk. Says, Dana, you're dreaming, don't cry over spilt milk. On Dana Durnford show, the chatter's turning wild, but Charlie shoots it down with that cool cat style. Unit 3's no killer, no harm to see life. He chuckles in the static, cuts through the strife. Oh, calm down, Charlie, with his nuclear charm. He says starfish are just fine, there's no alarm. His words dance on airwaves with a confident glow. Calm down, Charlie steals the whole radio show. With a snap and a grin, Charlie's voice so clear scatters the dread, dispels all the fear. Mux didn't hurt, he croons with a sigh. Science is for thinkers, not a whim or lie. Though Dana and the crowd may shout and roar, Charlie's unfazed, he's heard it all before. His swinging rationale, like a soothing song, says, hold on to logic, we gotta stay strong. Oh, calm down, Charlie, with his nuclear charm. He says starfish are just fine, there's no alarm. His words dance on airwaves with a confident glow. Calm down, Charlie steals the whole radio show.